John Jones, an adventurous individual, entered a cave near Utah Lake with the intention of exploring. During his quest, he decided to set a new record by going into the narrowest part of the cave. Little did he know that this decision would be the last one of his life. He was navigating through the tight passages of the cave known as Nutty Putty, but he lost his way and ended up in a section where no one had ventured before. The place was so narrow that even moving his hands was impossible, and breathing was difficult. Unfortunately, John got stuck upside down in this condition. This is the story of 26-year-old John Jones, whose last 27 hours were spent in this cave. Welcome once again to the videos of Sahil Thappa channel, dear viewers. Near Salt Lake City in Utah, there are small rocks inside which lies the Nutty Putty Cave, a hydrothermal cave. Discovered in 1960 by a man named Dale Green, this cave has since become a testing ground for thousands of young adventurers. The Nutty Putty Cave is known for its narrow, slippery, and winding passages. There is only one way to enter, and it is just 30 inches wide, meaning only those with a chest and waist measurement of less than 30 inches can enter. Every year, about 20,000 people come here to hone their skills. However, between 1999 and 2004, several accidents raised questions about the cave's safety. At one point, a 23-year-old was stuck in the cave for 10 hours, and on another occasion, a young man was trapped upside down in the cave all night. Due to these accidents, the authorities closed the Nutty Putty Cave in 2006. Professional cavers argued that it should only be closed to those without caving experience, as they were the ones who often got stuck. On the other hand, officials claimed that the Nutty Putty Cave was a ticking time bomb that could take a life at any moment. The battle between professional cavers and officials continued until 2007, when the cave was reopened with new rules. A management committee was formed to allow only experienced cavers with professional equipment to enter. To enter the Nutty Putty Cave, one had to apply for a permit 21 days in advance. John and Josh Jones, two brothers from Salt Lake City, applied for such a permit. On November 24, 2009, at 8 p.m., 26-year-old John Jones entered the Nutty Putty Cave system with his group. Both brothers had some previous caving experience, but it was their first time in Nutty Putty. For the first hour, everything was normal, and they explored the largest cavity, known as the Big Slide. This was the point where John, Josh, and two other friends decided to take the risk and go deeper into the cave to the most challenging part, known as the birth canal. The birth canal is so narrow that very few people have ventured near it. Not only is it extremely tight, but finding the path is also very difficult. Many people have gotten stuck on the way to the birth canal in the past. However, John, his brother, and two friends were fit enough, so they decided to proceed while the rest of the team stayed behind. The idea of going to the birth canal was John's, which is why he was leading. The path was so narrow that John was crawling on his stomach, thinking he was entering the birth canal. However, unknowingly, he took a wrong turn and entered a path known as the corkscrew. This was a place where only the thinnest cavers could go. According to the cave's map, John was to turn right towards the birth canal, but he turned left instead. As he moved forward, the path became even tighter, and he could no longer turn back. He continued in the hope that the path would widen ahead, allowing him to turn around. He saw a downward spot and thought he might be able to turn there. However, the situation worsened when he entered a 10 by 18-inch passage, only to find a dead end. John was now stuck upside down in a space as tight as a washing machine, with his head down and legs up, unable to move his hands or body. John tried several times to free himself, but every attempt failed. At this point, he started calling out to his brother. When Josh arrived a few minutes later, he could only see John's legs. Initially, he made a joke of his brother's predicament, but when he realized the seriousness of the situation, Josh became anxious. He tried to pull John's legs several times, but this only worsened the situation, causing John to slip further down. Trapped upside down, John couldn't move his body at all. Both brothers realized they needed professional help. However, there was no mobile signal deep inside the cave to call 911. Josh had to go outside to make the call and then return to his brother's location. 3 hours later, the first rescue team arrived on the scene. This was Susie Matola, who spent 2 hours trying to free John, but John was stuck more badly than expected. The space was so tight that Susie even cut John's jeans to gain an extra half-inch of space, but to no avail. Finally, Susie exhausted herself and came out. Outside, John's wife, daughter, babe, and 30 more rescue team members had arrived. They were contemplating various ways to rescue John, including amputating his legs. Ultimately, they agreed on using ropes and a pulley system to pull him out. However, the challenge was to install the pulleys in such a way that the ropes wouldn't hit the rocks and all the load would be on the pulley. Drilling into the cave's rocks to install the pulleys posed the risk of breaking the rocks and blocking the path. But there was no other option. During the drilling, some rocks fell and slid onto John. Working 700 feet deep inside the cave was not only difficult, but also time-consuming, and due to the narrow passage, only one rescuer could go in at a time. Meanwhile, the number of rescuers outside had grown to over 100, but they couldn't do much. A doctor in the rescue team made the situation even more serious by explaining that since John was trapped upside down, he had only 10 hours left before his organs would start failing. The human body is designed to stay upright, with the heart located in the upper part of the body to pump blood throughout. Approximately 80% of the blood is supplied to the lower parts with the help of gravity. But since John was upside down, his heart had to work overtime to pump blood upwards, which could lead to a heart attack. Knowing this, the rescuers increased their efforts to at least straighten John. After hours of effort, the pulley system was finally installed, and John was pulled by his legs. However, his legs were in a position that made it difficult to bend, causing his feet to hit the cave's ceiling when pulled. With great difficulty, they managed to pull John out significantly, but at the last moment, a pulley slipped from the cave's wall, and John got stuck again where he had been for the last 19 hours. John was now very panicked, so a two-way communication system was sent in to let him talk to his wife, which helped him calm down. After 19 hours, preparations to pull John out again were complete. This time, the process had to be done very carefully, as every pull put a lot of pressure on John's legs. Slowly but surely, they managed to pull him out significantly, enough for the rescuer to see John's face. The rescuer later described that John's eyes were red, and his face showed a moment of happiness. For the first time in 19 hours, John could see out of that tight, well-like passage. They needed just one last pull to completely free John, but suddenly, another pulley failed, and John got stuck again where he had been for nearly 20 hours. In the final attempt to rescue John, the rescuers tried to drill and break the surrounding rocks, but it was too late. John stopped moving and responding. His wife tried to revive him through the radio, but it was of no use. At this point, a brave paramedic was sent down to check John's pulse, confirming everyone's worst fears. John Jones was declared dead at 11:50 p.m. on November 25, 2009. John's wife couldn't believe that her husband died due to such a small mistake. She hoped that maybe his pulse wasn't checked properly and he was still alive. But the harsh reality was evident to everyone. Despite the doctor's prediction of just 10 hours, John's good health kept him alive for an additional 17 hours. Several plans were made to retrieve John's dead body, including the idea of removing it in 2 parts. However, it was finally decided to leave the body in the cave, declare Nutty Putty Cave closed forever, and treat it as John's tomb. Today, John Jones' body remains in the same position inside Nutty Putty Cave, serving as a grim reminder of the dangers of cave exploration. A plaque in his memory stands outside the cave.